Patrick, hit us with some stats, won't you?
Adaptation was released on December 6th, 2002. Budget of $19 million, and it grossed $32.8 million. So just, like broke even, I would say. That seems to be kind of a running theme with these more indie films.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't have a massive budget. They just kind of either make back their budget or maybe double it. 32.8 on our list is actually pretty high.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to these smaller films like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is an absolute, as you saw in the starring, there's an absolute just pedigree of excellence in this film. Top to bottom, cast, crew, everybody is just amazing. Starting out with Spike Jonze, who is actually married to Nick's cousin, Sophia.
Really?
Sophia Coppola, who did Lost in Translation. She's done a lot of great films. Not a great actress, as we saw in Godfather 3, but she's an amazing director. Spike Jonze started out with skate videos, kind of worked with like Jason Lee back in the day, before Jason Lee broke into acting and stuff. And then he moved on to music videos, and he is responsible for some of the most classic music videos I've ever seen. So Buddy Holly by Weezer, which I feel like is a classic. Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. It's Oh So Quiet by Bjork, before she got into just yuling through all of her songs. Da Funk by Daft Punk. Praise You by Fatboy Slim, the one with Christopher Walken, like running on the walls and stuff. It's all about the Benjamins.
Or is that a different one?
I think Weapon of Choice is his too, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, is
Weapon of Choice is the one with Christopher Walken.
Okay. Praise You was a big one, though, I remember. It's all about the Benjamins by Puff Daddy, Wonder Boy by Tenacious D. Just there's so many that are like, God, I remember that video. Oh, I remember that video. It's just amazing. Really, if you look at it, it's almost like greatest hits of like music videos. Then he ended up breaking into film by doing Being John Malkovich. That was actually his first movie, which of course was also written by Charlie Kaufman. Then he's only done 4 movies total in his entire career. So since 2000 or I guess it would have been in the 90s when Being John Malkovich came out. I forget when that movie came out, but shortly before Adaptation. So Being John Malkovich, then he did Adaptation also with Kaufman, Where the Wild Things Are, which is the only movie that wasn't like critically acclaimed that he did, but I actually really liked it. A creepier version of the book, more of an adult take on it. And then Her, which...
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he directed that.
Yeah, which is a weird like grouping of films for one director, but only 4. Has only directed 4 films, but all of them were either nominated for a Golden Globe or Oscar, including a Best Director nomination for Being John Malkovich. So every one of his films, he's done 4 films, and every single one of them has been either Oscar or Golden Globe nominated. I think all 3, aside from Where the Wild Things Are, have been Oscar nominated. Crazy. And Her cleaned up at the Oscars. This was, of course, written by Charlie Kaufman, who I feel like was introduced to the world through this movie because he wrote himself into the screenplay. He, of course, has done, I think it's like 4 of what they consider to be the top 100 scripts of all time.
Wow.
Being John Malkovich, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, has since started directing every film that he's done, starting with Schenectady, New York, which Robert Ebert called the best film of the decade for the 2010s. Like I said, just pedigree of excellence all the way down. It's funny. Every time I see Schenectady written out, I think that there's this like pronunciation video that's like the first result on Google is like Sinodody Tody Chody. Sinodody Dody Chody. Schenectady. There's no one else like Charlie Kaufman. I haven't seen anybody else. I like, if David Lynch is a singular voice and he's his own thing, like Charlie Kaufman is exactly like, there's nobody else working that's quite like him. It's always kind of a mind fuck every time you watch one of his movies, but in a good way. Shot by Lance Accord, who also did, of course, Being John Malkovich. Also shot Spike Jonze's other films. I don't think he did Her, but he did Where the Wild Things Are, and of course, Adaptation. Also shot Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation, Marie Antoinette, and he was one of the main producers for this movie called The Robot and Frank, which is a brilliant indie film. If you haven't seen it, it's about a former jewel thief who's getting older, and his daughter decides that he needs company, so she gets him like one of those Osimo robots, and he ends up planning a jewel heist with the robot.
I thought it was The Robot and Frank.
Yeah, Robot and Frank.
Anne or and?
And. Yeah.
Okay, because I thought it was like The Robot and Frank, like somebody made an Anne Frank robot. It's like, wow, that is a very obscure premise for an indie movie.
It's an Anne Frank robot,
Our first
Keeps bumping into walls and like, shh.
Our first script.
God,
The Robot and Frank.
All right, I'm just going to move on from that. Edited by Eric Zumbrinen, I think is how you say his name. Best known for his work with Spike Jonze, including his music video work, but also worked on Mindhunter and, unfortunately, John Carter for Disney. Can't win them all.
Hey, I heard John Carter wasn't bad.
I've heard it's not bad. I've never watched it.
Like everybody on planet Earth, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's pretty good.
Everybody, I think it did bad because it was like starring an unknown. At the time, he was pretty much unknown. And then, like, nobody knew that story, and, like, nobody knew what it was going to be. It just looked like a shitty version of The Mummy, and it had a humongous budget.
Yeah.
Bombed terrible.
It's the same problem they're having right now. Like, just gigantic budgets in movies that no one's going to see.
Yeah. By the way, the Flash is now slated to be the worst superhero bomb of all time.
Ooh. Even at my most pessimistic, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured it would break even, but... music by Carter Burwell, who is... we've talked about him previously on Raising Arizona. He's kind of the Coen brothers' go-to composer, but what's funny is he's been nominated for 3 Oscars, and none of them are the Coen brothers movies. It's kind of funny. He did the music for a movie called Carol. Then he did 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which was a great film, very Coen Brothers-esque. And then The Banshees of Inisherin, which he just got an Oscar nomination. Well, just in our timeline, not like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, whatever. And he's also worked on all 4 of Spike Jonze's films. So... he's kind of a go-to for both Spike Jonze and the Coen brothers. And yeah, kind of, they're again, like pedigree of excellence. Like he's got a huge catalog of amazing scores. A lot of films that I've enjoyed over the years. Ratings, this movie got a 91%, 8.2 out of 10 on 213 reviews. Like we said, I don't think we've had even close to a 90% this season on any of the other films that we've done. Wild at Heart. I think Wild at Heart might have been up there somewhere. Might have been a 90. I don't remember.
I don't think it was.
I don't think it was. I think that movie didn't do very well critically.
Really? Okay.
If I remember correctly. I can't remember.
Oh, I remember Ebert called it like masturbatory cinema or something like that.
Yeah, it's... That was, I think that had mixed reactions.
Yeah.
Are you looking it up?
No, I'm looking at our list of movies.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't. What away? Stolen, swept, everything.
Stolen didn't get a 90%?
That got a 96%, guys.
We had a real.
We've had a treasure trove
shit
this
season.
This season was a shit fest.
bit of a slog. Yeah. I think The Rock might have been the highest rated beside
Probably,
Adaptation.
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Audience score on this was an 85%. So equally
That's
strong.
a lot higher than I thought, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, well, I'll get to it in the cinema score, but like for the most part, everybody has rated it really, really good. So audience 85%, Metacritic 83%, which I think is the highest Metacritic score that we've ever seen on this show.
Mm-hmm.
IMDb is 7.7 out of 10, so you got to count for lowest common denominator. Some people probably didn't get it and probably were very confused throughout. But then the cinema score was a C. How in the fuck?
What? I didn't watch the trailer for it, so I don't know how this was.
It's kind of
billed
a comedy, of course, you know, kind of more of like a really goofy slapstick comedy, you know, like I feel like the main trailer moment was that scene where he says, "I've written myself into my screenplay," and Donald's like, "It's kind of weird, isn't it?" And then it keeps going from there. But that's like kind of the pitch to the audience is that premise, which is pretty much the movie. But
Yeah.
I think it was painted as kind of a, I don't know, Being John Malkovich-esque funny movie, which Being John Malkovich is a thinker too, but this is much more of a thinker.
Yeah.
So maybe people went into it not expecting to have to think about it, and then they were like, I don't like this.
Where's the face off guy?
I can't really.
Where's the face off?
I thought this was going to be like The Rock.
Did I sell cabbage in the lobby? Yeah, I don't get it. C? How do you give this movie a C? How did that many people in an audience give this movie a C? That's crazy to me.
I don't know.
That's like, I think that's the lowest cinema score we've ever seen, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. I think up until now everything's been.
I think if a lot of those straight to video movies got cinema releases, we'd have lower scores. But
yes.
I think of all the theatrically released movies, this is the lowest.
Most of those get a little NA, you know.
Yeah.
I never would have expected that when I was doing the research. I was like, okay, 91%, that makes sense. 85%, okay. And then I got to that and I was like, what?
Yeah, that seems way too harsh.
For crazy
this movie.
Yeah. That's what I'm just wondering. Were people expecting something completely different?
I think
what they got?
I think it had to have been something like that. But yeah, dumbfounding.